here we go. All right, UFC 257. I have already talked about this. I have already given my thoughts on UFC 257. Now, I just want to say, if you guys are watching on Instagram, go over to YouTube 7 days later today. Follow the show, like, subscribe, and comment. You can follow along with what I'm doing on YouTube live stream, or you can watch the show later. Either way, follow along. That way you get to see the articles and the videos that we're watching. All right, UFC 257. Now, I've already given my take. I gotta say that I think I have a really good take on what's gonna happen inside the lightweight division. As we all know, over the weekend, Conor lost to Dustin Poirier. And this is a good thing for the UFC. It's also probably a good thing for Conor McGregor because now he gets hungry. So, here is my prediction for the lightweight division in the UFC. When you take a look at everybody in this division, it's obvious that they are completely stacked, okay? It's obvious. Khabib is not coming back. He's not going to be coming back. He's going to have to strip the title, okay? He's going to strip the title, and the people who are going to be fighting for it, I'm going to draw this up for y'all because this is about to get real. Now, Khabib's not coming back. He's going to give up the title. In my personal opinion, the fight to make is Poirier versus Chandler. The reason that this is the fight to make is because before UFC, they said this is like the semifinals. The winners are going to come together and they're going to fight. Nothing should change there. Nothing should change. The reason nothing should change is because Conor, if he loses, he's done. Can we all admit that he's probably done if he loses again? So I do not think that the UFC should put him in a match against Poirier again. Now, I'd say it's again 50-50 who wins. But what I feel they should do is put Conor McGregor versus Oliveira. Now, this is something that no one is talking about right now, and I believe this is the route to go because it sets up the most options, okay? So if Conor fights Oliveira, then I think you have RDA, Rafael Dos Anjos, fight Gaethje. So RDA versus Gaethje. And in my opinion, which probably won't happen, you have them all fight on the same night. And you also bring in Diaz versus Ferguson. Now, this is something that I've heard about other people talking about. And I think this is a great matchup, Diaz versus Ferguson, because this will be Ferguson basically his match to save his life. If he loses this, he's going down to Dante's Inferno, and there's no way out but going even deeper into hell. That means going all the way back to like probably just around the top 10 and working his way back to the top 5, and that's going to be a tough fight. So it'll be interesting to see Diaz come down to 155 fighting Ferguson. That would be a great fight. And then Rafael Dos Anjos, I haven't really dug into this much. This is just my opinion because these are the other matchups that are left, or this is the only matchup that's left. And then Conor fights Oliveira, Poirier versus Chandler for the title. Now here's what happens, okay? Here we have it. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see that, but here we have it, okay? Bring it in a little bit closer. Okay, now, if, let's say Poirier wins. Poirier gets the W, okay? And Conor gets the W. If that happens, if Poirier and Conor get the W, then they're fighting for the title. And now we've got our three-way matchup. Or no, now we've got our final third match to resolute who's the better fighter, okay? Now, if that happens, Chandler and Oliveira lose. So then, whatever happens down the road, whoever wins with RDA versus Gaethje probably ends up fighting for the title. Now, let's say Poirier wins. Or no, let's say Chandler wins. So now Chandler wins. I mean, let's be honest. Would you want to watch that fight? Conor McGregor versus Chandler? Maybe the closest thing to Khabib, I think, in my personal opinion, is Chandler. Which, another thing I think could happen is if Chandler beats Poirier for the title, maybe, just maybe, Khabib comes back to fight Chandler because they're both wrestlers. That's another possibility. So if Conor beats Oliveira, then he fights the winner of RDA versus Gaethje if Diaz loses. If Diaz wins and Chandler wins, Conor fights Diaz for that unifying third fight. And then if he wins there, hopefully... Basically, all I'm trying to say here is Conor needs a squiggly route to the top. You can't just throw it at him. Make him work. I think it will be way more worth it for the UFC to make Conor work for that title because there's way more options when you put him versus Oliveira. Because, one, you need him to come out with a win. You really need Conor to come out with a win. If he doesn't, what do you guys think? Is he done? I think he's done. If Conor doesn't come out with a win, he is done. So, the matchups that should be coming down the UFC lightweight division should be Poirier versus Chandler, Conor versus Oliveira, Diaz versus Ferguson, and Rafael dos Anjos versus Gaethje. Could you imagine that? Think about all of those options. Now, I did this segment again because this was too good not to put out on the internet. I wish someone would find this and comment because I would love to hear what Chael Sonnen has to say. I'm going to have to submit this to Chael Sonnen's channel because he was talking all sorts of messes with Oliveira in the championship versus Chandler or versus Poirier. Chandler has paid his dues. Okay, maybe it's not in the UFC, but the way he looked, he dominated Dan Hooker. And Dustin Poirier said he wouldn't fight him because he wants him to go make a name for himself in the UFC, and he thought that he shouldn't have to fight someone who just beat the guy that he beat. Yeah, but you guys were in a dogfight, and Chandler beat the shit out of him. I think that's the fight to make. That's going to be a damn good fight. That's going to be a dog fight again. And then if Poirier wins and Conor win, you put them together. If Poirier loses and Conor wins, you put him with Chandler or you... Who knows? There's so many options. There's so many different things you could do. But in my opinion, I think that's the decision that the UFC should make. They should put Poirier versus Chandler, Conor versus Oliveira, Diaz versus Ferguson, and RDA versus Gaethje. I think those are the matchups to make. I believe it gives it a lot more options. I would be extremely, extremely interested in watching all of those fights. I wonder when they're, or if they're going to start, I understand why you want it, but if they're going to start putting divisions on the same night. I understand why you don't, because guys get hurt. The schedule doesn't always work out the way that you want it to. But I think it would be interesting to have all four of those fights on the same night, on the same card. That should be sometime in the summer, and then all of them fight hopefully sometime later in the year or at the beginning of 2022. In my opinion, that's the route to take. I think it would be very, very interesting if the UFC went that route.